Hey, good morning. It's July 1st, 2022 at approximately, well, it is 10 a.m. my time. And I need to address the Phil Mickelson, Pat Tilman, LIV tour, Saudi Arabia framing. Because we received quite a few comments that were like, I don't get it. I don't see a connection between Pat Tillman and Phil Mickelson. And it's just extraordinary to me that people can't see the forest for the trees based on what it is that I'm trying to tell you. So I'm going to just simplify it as easy as I can. So first of all, I'm a Sun Devil. I went to Arizona State at the same time Phil Mickelson did. Phil Mickelson actually showed up at one of my parties, when I was a senior, which was fucking awesome. And I've always been a big fan of Phil Mickelson. I'm a golfer myself, and I love, Phil's career for the most part, and I'm pretty well aware of it. Not intimately aware. I've heard a bunch of things that are disconcerting, like potential gambling debt. But the whole nature and the magnitude of the comparison, and I mean this from the bottom of my heart, and I hope this goes like freaking wildfire out there. So, from one Sun Devil to another, here's the matrix that you got to look at. After 9/11, Pat Tillman was an NFL football player with an amazing career, and he gave it all up to serve our country because we were attacked on 9/11. He wound up in Afghanistan. He ended up getting killed in a friendly fire, a situation that was spun by the Department of Defense for a long time until we figured out the truth. But Pat Tillman was a thoughtful guy, by the way. He really saw the parameters of everything, but he was also a very courageous guy with amazing integrity, so much so that after we were attacked, he actually enlisted because he was a freaking mammoth badass. That's who Pat Tilman is, okay? So speaking from experience, I also went to a Marine recruiter following 9/11, and I wanted to enlist, but I didn't because I actually, there's a lot of reasons why I didn't, but the main reason I didn't was I asked the recruiter, when do we get to go attack Saudi Arabia? 15 of the 19 hijackers were from Saudi Arabia. But what we've learned after, and I knew it all at that time period, basically the hierarchy of the Saudi royal family, they pay for these imams, and like they were exporting Wahhabism, and they were creating all sorts of fermented hatred with Islam towards the West, particularly after the fall of Afghanistan when the Russians left. And then they turned a lot of their focus towards us. And by the way, the CIA was heavily involved with it at that time. And I'm sorry if you don't understand just the bare basics of what our relationship was in that arena at that time period, but that's part of it. Ultimately, 9/11 happens. What's been revealed since then, there was this prescient 26 redacted pages in the 9/11 Commission report. The 9/11 Commission report, just so you know, the congressional inquiry investigation into it was literally $4 million. And they never got all the answers as to what mainstream media starts, spewing, hey, let's go get the answers like the 9/11 Commission report. Bullshit. They never got the fucking answers. And they left out the most prescient answers, which were in the 26 redacted pages that revealed, among others, that Bendar bin Sultan, his wife, was providing material support to the freaking Jacksonville and San Diego terrorist cells, that of which we understand now that Dick Cheney and Bush had information that they existed, and we know Cheney prevented the intelligence command higher structure from speaking to one another. Do you ever see the movie or read the book Looming Towers? The CIA didn't talk to the FBI. That's how you control the outcome. Look 20 years later, look who's in charge. Biden's about to go to Saudi Arabia to kiss the ring. And then we got Phil Mickelson, instead of doing what Pat Tillman did, which was sacrifice and lay his life down for the country, he's kissing the ring of the Saudis who helped foment what happened on 9/11. And there was I can't remember the exact total, 3,000 Americans on 9/11. It could have been, 22,000 from what I understand, maybe even 50,000. It was just the timing of it. It happened earlier before everybody got to work. But we know people. I know people. I was talking to people on 9/11, literally friends of mine in Manhattan, watching people jump from the frickin' towers. The towers collapsed, literally just evaporating everybody involved, including FDNY, the courageous firemen and everybody that went to try to go rescue people. But I remember in the aftermath of of 2000 or 9/11, it was like literally for a moment, it was like a natural disaster. Like I got hit by a bolt of lightning and came out of the blue, and then that's the way. No, it was a freaking terrorist attack. And it had coordinated symmetry with being able to provide funding to have these guys live in our country, get the freaking training with the pilots. In fact, in Minneapolis, the FBI knew that these terrorists were getting flight lessons and not wanting to learn how to land. And then they got nailed with like books about buildings and flying into buildings. And by the way, the CIA, just so you know, the CIA, and there was a couple of other intelligence units, they had already presented like 2 years in advance that it was a possibility for the Twin Towers to be struck by airliners. This was already a known fact. It was already mapped out in models. And by the way, don't forget that we actually had, what was it, Salman was the guy that, orchestrated the Twin Tower bomb in what, 1993? So, sorry for you if you're just coming into the world and you're like, hey, I don't even know what the fucking world is. The world is about power and in these matrix and these hierarchies, primarily built on the financial fossil fuel matrix. And that's all been played out for the last 20 years post 9/11. We could have probably reconfigured the entire energy paradigm had it not been for what happened in 9/11. All of the money, the funding, everything else goes to the military industrial financial complex. And then you got this guy, MBS, who was like a kid during 9/11. But what, he cuts up Khashoggi into a million pieces because he's critical of the Saudi regime. And meanwhile, we got Phil Mickelson, one of our top golfers, not to mention all the other guys in the PGA, going and playing for the guys that are involved with this just insanity, not to mention Yemen and like beheading like 50 people, 80 people like 2 months ago. Some people might be like, Patrick, aren't you afraid to speak up? No, I'm not afraid to speak up. Why are you sitting on your hands and acting as if you can give Mickelson a mulligan for this? Mickelson should be ashamed of himself from particularly being a Sun Devil. Again, I'll finish what I started off with. Pat Tilman, in the aftermath of 9/11, gave up a multi-million-dollar contract in the NFL to go fight for his country because of 9/11, of which Saudi was extremely involved with. And now Phil Mickelson forgets all of that. Doesn't matter. I'm going to go where the money is. And why is the money in Saudi Arabia? Well, because of everything I just told you. Anyway, so that's the point. And I hope I pissed off those who don't get it, but I certainly hope I woke up a lot of other people, because this is madness. And Phil, you should be ashamed of yourself.